The perfect picture, Vanessa. Mitchell smoothed her hand over her rounded belly, feeling the gentle kick of her unborn child as she arranged the fresh peonies in the crystal vase. At 7 months pregnant, she had mastered the art of balancing her successful interior design business with preparing for motherhood. The spacious Portland home she shared with her husband Thomas reflected her impeccable taste. Warm neutrals accented with tasteful pops of color, curated artwork from their travels, and comfortable yet sophisticated furniture that guests always complimented. The Hamilton project is finally approved, Thomas announced as he entered the kitchen, his broad smile lighting up his handsome face. At 35, Thomas Mitchell had recently been promoted to senior financial consultant at Meridian Partners, a prestigious firm that handled investments for Portland's elite. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his tailored suit a testament to his rising success. "That's wonderful, honey," Vanessa exclaimed, genuinely happy for him. The Hamilton account had been his focus for months, a wealthy family looking to diversify their considerable portfolio. "We should celebrate," Thomas checked his watch. "I wish I could, but I need to finalize some details at the office. Don't wait up. These initial stages always take longer than expected." Vanessa nodded, hiding her disappointment. Lately, Thomas had been working later than usual. She understood the demands of his career. After all, her own design firm had required similar dedication before she scaled back for the pregnancy. But something felt different about his absences recently. "The doctor says everything looks perfect," she said, changing the subject. "She thinks it's definitely a girl." Thomas's expression softened as he placed his hand on her belly. "My little princess." The tender moment reminded Vanessa of why she had fallen in love with him 5 years ago, his capacity for genuine warmth beneath his polished exterior. After Thomas left, Vanessa called her friend Olivia Henderson, who arrived an hour later with takeout and sympathy. "He's missing dinner again?" Olivia asked, setting out containers of Thai food on the dining table. Her curly auburn hair was pulled into a messy bun, her teacher's wardrobe replaced by comfortable weekend attire. "The Hamilton account is demanding. It's a big opportunity," Vanessa replied, though the explanation felt rehearsed even to her own ears. Olivia gave her a searching look. "Has he been acting different in other ways?" Vanessa hesitated. "He's been distracted, protective of his phone. Changed his email password." "That doesn't sound like Thomas. It's probably just work stress. The baby coming. Our 5th anniversary next month." Vanessa picked at her pad thai. Appetite suddenly diminished. "He's planning something special for the anniversary, I think. That might explain the secrecy." Olivia nodded, but her expression remained concerned. "Just keep your eyes open, Nessa. Not to plant seeds of doubt, but my sister ignored similar signs with her ex." "Thomas isn't like that," Vanessa insisted, though a knot formed in her stomach. "We're happy. We're having a baby." Later that evening, while gathering laundry, Vanessa found a receipt in Thomas's suit jacket, an expensive restaurant downtown, from a lunch last Tuesday when he'd told her he had a client meeting across town. It might have been nothing, but combined with the late nights, the password changes, and the mysterious calls he took in the other room, it stirred an unease she couldn't ignore. That night Thomas returned after midnight, the scent of unfamiliar perfume clinging faintly to his collar as he kissed her forehead in the darkness. "Everything okay with the Hamilton account?" she murmured, pretending to have just awakened. "Perfect," he whispered. "Everything's going perfectly." Vanessa lay awake long after Thomas fell asleep, her hand protectively cradling her belly, wondering if the life she'd built was as perfect as it seemed, or if shadows were gathering at the edges of her carefully designed world. The next morning, while Thomas showered, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Vanessa hesitated, then glanced at the screen. A message preview appeared. "Rebecca, can't wait to see you again." Last night was... The rest was hidden, but Vanessa felt her world tilt. She didn't know any Rebecca in Thomas's professional circle. The perfect picture of her marriage suddenly contained a flaw she couldn't unsee, a crack that threatened to shatter everything she had believed to be true, the unveiling truth. The name Rebecca haunted Vanessa for days. She tried to convince herself there must be an innocent explanation, perhaps a new client or colleague. But Thomas had mentioned no Rebecca in his recent work conversations. The pregnancy-induced backaches that kept her awake at night now competed with gnawing anxiety. "I'm being paranoid," Vanessa told herself as she arranged fabric swatches for a client's nursery project. But the designer in her knew when something was out of place, when colors clashed instead of complemented, and something in her marriage had definitely shifted. With a trembling hand, Vanessa logged into their joint credit card account, something she rarely checked since Thomas handled most of their finances. The transactions revealed a pattern. Dinners at intimate restaurants on nights he claimed to be working late, a substantial charge at an upscale jewelry store 3 weeks ago, and most damning, a hotel booking downtown last Thursday when he told her he was at a conference in Seattle. Vanessa closed her laptop and pressed her palms against her eyes. The baby kicked as if sensing her distress. "It's okay," she whispered to her unborn daughter. "We're going to be okay." At the Meridian Partners office party the following evening, Vanessa observed Thomas carefully. He seemed overly attentive to her, getting her sparkling water, asking if she needed to sit down, behavior that once would have seemed caring but now felt like compensation. "You must be Vanessa," said a woman's voice behind her. "Thomas talks about you constantly." Vanessa turned to face a woman in her early 30s with sleek blonde hair and a designer dress that emphasized her slender figure. Her smile seemed genuine, but something in her eyes made Vanessa uneasy. "I'm Rebecca Wilson," the woman continued. "I joined the team last month. Thomas has been kind enough to show me the ropes." The room seemed to spin slightly. Rebecca. The mystery woman had a face now, and she was beautiful, confident, and everything Vanessa, with her swollen ankles and maternity clothes, currently was not. "Lovely to meet you," Vanessa managed, her interior designer's composure coming to her rescue. "Thomas hasn't mentioned you." A flicker of something, disappointment? Surprise? Crossed Rebecca's face before she recovered. "Well, we've been so focused on the Hamilton project there's hardly time for personal conversations." When Thomas approached moments later, Vanessa watched carefully. His eyes darted between the women, and though his hand remained on Vanessa's back, she felt a tension in his posture that told her more than words could. The next morning, Vanessa called Olivia from her car. "I need the name of that private investigator your sister used," she said without preamble. Olivia's silence spoke volumes before she finally asked, "Are you sure, Ness?" "I need to know the truth before the baby comes." Her voice broke slightly. "I need to know what I'm dealing with." Marcus Donovan, the investigator, was straightforward and professional. "I don't take pleasure in this kind of work," he told her. "But I believe people deserve the truth, especially when they're about to bring a child into the situation." Over the next week, Marcus provided Vanessa with information that confirmed her worst fears. Photos of Thomas and Rebecca entering the Grand Hotel together, documentation of a secret phone Thomas had purchased, a timeline that showed a relationship developing over the past 3 months, beginning shortly after Vanessa entered her second trimester. Thomas continued his deception smoothly, creating elaborate explanations for his absences. The confident financial advisor who built trust with wealthy clients was equally skilled at maintaining his wife's fragile trust. "The annual investment gala is Friday night," Thomas mentioned casually at dinner. "I know you're uncomfortable at these late events now, so don't feel obligated to attend." Vanessa smiled, hiding the pain behind her eyes. "You're right. I think I'll skip it." But Friday evening found Vanessa carefully applying makeup, selecting a flattering maternity dress in deep burgundy, and driving to the Portland Convention Center where the gala was being held. Marcus had suggested she might want to see the truth with her own eyes, not to torture herself, but to eliminate any possibility of denial that might keep her trapped in limbo. The ballroom was elegantly decorated, financial elite mingling over champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Vanessa spotted Thomas immediately, his tall figure distinctive in the crowd. He stood near a column, his back to the entrance, speaking intently with Rebecca. As Vanessa watched, frozen in place, Thomas brushed a strand of hair from Rebecca's face with intimate familiarity. Rebecca laughed, placing her hand on his chest, and then leaned up to kiss him. The moment crystallized for Vanessa, her husband's betrayal undeniable in the soft lighting of the ballroom. Thomas's hands moved to Rebecca's waist just as he happened to glance toward the entrance. Their eyes met across the room. Vanessa saw shock, then horror wash over his face. The perfect picture she had believed in shattered completely as Thomas said something quickly to Rebecca and started moving toward her through the crowd. But Vanessa was already turning away, one hand on her belly, the other clutching. "Rebuilding from ashes, Vanessa, please. Let me explain." Thomas's desperate voice echoed through the parking garage as Vanessa fumbled with her car keys. She could hear his footsteps hurrying behind her, but she didn't turn around. "There's nothing to explain," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I saw everything." He reached her just as she opened the car door. "It's not what you think. Rebecca and I—" "Don't." Vanessa finally turned to face him, one protective hand on her belly. "Don't insult me by lying anymore." In the harsh fluorescent lighting, Thomas looked smaller somehow, his confident facade crumbling. "I made a mistake. A terrible mistake, but I love you and our baby." "You should go back inside," Vanessa said. "Rebecca's waiting, and I need to go home and figure out what comes next." That night, Vanessa stayed at Olivia's apartment, crying until there were no tears left. The next morning, she called her parents in Seattle, who immediately offered to drive down to Portland. "You don't need to face this alone," her mother insisted. When Vanessa returned home to collect some belongings, she found Thomas waiting, unshaven and hollow-eyed. "I ended it with Rebecca," he said immediately. "It was just physical. It didn't mean anything." "That makes it worse," Vanessa replied. "You risked our family for something meaningless." Over the following weeks, as her due date approached, Vanessa moved into a small apartment near her design studio. Thomas begged for couples counseling, sent flowers, left heartfelt voicemails. What surprised Vanessa most was the unexpected support from Daniel, Thomas's brother. "I love my brother," Daniel told her over coffee one afternoon, "but what he did was wrong. If you need anything at all, I'm here." When labor pains began 3 weeks early, it was Olivia who drove Vanessa to the hospital, but Thomas who arrived minutes later, frantic and determined to be present. "I don't deserve to be here," he acknowledged, "but I want to be a father to our child even if I've failed as a husband." After 18 hours of labor, Emma Grace Mitchell entered the world perfect and innocent, unaware of the complicated emotions surrounding her arrival. When the nurse placed the tiny bundle in Vanessa's arms, the pain of betrayal momentarily receded, replaced by overwhelming love. Thomas, sitting tentatively at Vanessa's bedside, wept when he held his daughter. "I'll spend my life making this right," he whispered. "For both of you." The months that followed were a blur of sleepless nights, legal consultations, and difficult conversations. Vanessa filed for separation but agreed to a co-parenting arrangement that allowed Thomas regular visits with Emma. She threw herself into motherhood and rebuilding her design business, finding strength she didn't know she possessed. Thomas, meanwhile, left Meridian Partners and Rebecca behind. He started therapy, moved into a modest apartment near Vanessa's, and proved remarkably reliable with Emma. The remorse in his eyes seemed genuine, though Vanessa remained guarded. By Emma's first birthday, celebrated in Vanessa's new backyard with both families present, the rawness had begun to fade. Vanessa had built a successful boutique design firm, specializing in family-friendly luxury spaces. Thomas had started his own financial advisory practice focused on ethical investments. "He's changed," Olivia observed as they watched Thomas patiently helping Emma take wobbly steps across the grass. "People can change," Vanessa agreed, "but trust once broken is never quite the same." On a warm evening 2 years after the gala, Vanessa sat on her porch swing watching Thomas and Emma playing in the yard. He had proven himself a devoted father and had respected every boundary Vanessa established. The divorce was final, but they had found a way to create a healthy environment for Emma. "She has your determination," Thomas said as he joined Vanessa on the swing after putting Emma to bed. "And your smile," Vanessa replied, a bittersweet acknowledgement. Thomas hesitated before speaking again. "I know I can never undo what I did, but I want you to know that losing you was the wake-up call I needed. I was taking everything valuable for granted." Vanessa looked at the man she had once built her life around. The anger had gradually subsided, replaced by something resembling forgiveness, not for his sake but for her own peace. "We'll never be what we were," she said gently. "But for Emma's sake, I'm glad we found a way forward." As Thomas left that evening, Vanessa remained on the porch swing, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. From the ashes of betrayal, she had built something new, a life defined not by what she had lost, but by what she had found within herself: resilience, independence, and the capacity to heal. Unexpected crossroads 2 years later, Vanessa's design firm Mitchell Interiors had become one of Portland's most sought-after studios. Her signature style, practical luxury with a focus on family-friendly spaces, had resonated with clients, and her waiting list stretched 6 months. Emma, now 4, was a precocious curly-haired dynamo who split her time between Vanessa's craftsman-style home and Thomas's nearby apartment. "Mommy, when is Daddy picking me up?" Emma asked, carefully coloring within the lines of her dinosaur coloring book. "After lunch, sweetheart," Vanessa replied, reviewing fabric samples for her newest client, the Westons, a high-profile couple building their dream home overlooking the Columbia River. The doorbell rang, and Vanessa was surprised to find not the mail carrier she expected, but Jonathan Weston himself on her doorstep. "I hope I'm not intruding," he said apologetically. "Patricia sent me with these tile samples. She's changed her mind again." Jonathan was tall with salt and pepper hair and kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. As the CEO of a sustainable energy company, he brought the same thoughtfulness to his home project that he did to his business. "Not at all." Vanessa invited him in. "Emma and I were just having a quiet morning." As Jonathan entered, Emma looked up from her coloring. "Are you a client?" she asked with the directness only children possess. Jonathan laughed. "I am. Your mom is helping my wife and me build our house. My daddy builds things too," Emma informed him seriously. "He builds money for people." "Financial planning," Vanessa translated with a smile. Over coffee, Jonathan explained Patricia's concerns about the tiles while Vanessa made notes. Their easy conversation shifted to Portland's growth, favorite hiking trails, and eventually single parenthood. Jonathan mentioned that he had raised his now adult son largely on his own after his wife died from cancer 12 years earlier. "It shapes you," he said thoughtfully. "Makes you both mother and father." "It does," Vanessa agreed, though her situation was different. Though Emma's lucky to have Thomas remain active in her life. After Jonathan left, Vanessa found herself thinking about his understated kindness, the way he spoke about his son with obvious pride, how he'd gotten down on Emma's level to admire her dinosaur drawing. When Thomas arrived to pick up Emma, he noticed the tile samples on the counter. "New clients?" "The Westons. Their project is finally moving forward." Thomas nodded. "Jonathan Weston? I've heard good things about him. His company is making waves in renewable energy." The following weeks brought several more interactions with Jonathan, site visits, material selections, and once, unexpectedly, at Emma's preschool art show where his nephew was also exhibiting. "We meet again," Jonathan said warmly, stopping beside Vanessa as she admired Emma's finger painting. "Small world," Vanessa replied, strangely aware of his presence beside her. "Would it be inappropriate to ask my interior designer to coffee sometime?" Jonathan asked quietly. "Not to discuss tile samples." Vanessa hesitated, surprised. Dating had been the furthest thing from her mind since the divorce. "I don't usually mix professional and personal relationships." "I understand completely," Jonathan said without pressure. "The offer stands if you change your mind." Later that evening, Olivia was unequivocal. "Call him. 4 years of focusing only on Emma and work is enough." "It's complicated," Vanessa protested. "He's a client." "Life is complicated," Olivia countered. "Doesn't mean you stop living it." When Vanessa mentioned Jonathan's invitation to Thomas during their weekly co-parenting check-in, his reaction surprised her. "You should go," he said after a moment's pause. "You deserve to be happy, Ness." The sincerity in his voice was unmistakable, though something else flickered in his eyes. Regret? Perhaps for what he had thrown away. Eventually, Vanessa agreed to meet Jonathan for coffee, which led to dinner the following week, and gradually, cautious dating. He was patient with her hesitations, respectful of her boundaries, and wonderful with Emma when they eventually met more formally. 6 months into their relationship, Vanessa realized she was falling in love again, a different kind of love, more measured and thoughtful than the whirlwind romance she'd had with Thomas. "I never expected this," she confessed to Jonathan one evening as they walked along the Willamette River. "After everything with Thomas, I thought that part of my life was over." Jonathan took her hand. "Sometimes the best things come when we've stopped looking for them." Full circle. On Emma's 5th birthday, Vanessa planned a small celebration at the local park. Thomas arrived early to help set up, bringing the Princess Castle cake Emma had requested. Vanessa was arranging presents when she noticed Thomas watching her with a peculiar expression. "What?" she asked, smoothing her sundress self-consciously. "You look happy," he said simply. "It suits you." Before she could respond, Jonathan's car pulled into the parking lot. Thomas's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly before he forced a smile. "I should finish the decorations," he said, turning away. The party went smoothly. Emma delighted in being the center of attention. The other children enjoyed the games Olivia had organized, and the adults maintained polite conversation. Only Vanessa noticed the tension in Thomas's shoulders when Jonathan casually draped his arm around her waist, or the way Thomas volunteered for tasks that kept him busy and separate. After the guests departed, Thomas stayed to help clean up. As Jonathan took Emma to see the ducks at the pond, Thomas finally spoke what was on his mind. "He seems like a good man," he said, gathering discarded wrapping paper. "He is," Vanessa replied cautiously. Thomas nodded, staring at the playground where Emma had been running earlier. "I keep thinking about parallel lives, the one we might have had if I hadn't." He trailed off, then continued more quietly. "I watch you with him, and I see what I threw away." Vanessa felt a complicated mixture of emotions, sympathy for Thomas's regret, but also certainty about her current path. "We can't live in what-ifs, Thomas." "I know." He looked directly at her now. "I just want you to know that I'm grateful you've allowed me to remain in Emma's life, and that seeing you happy matters to me, even if I'm not the one making you happy anymore." It was perhaps the most honest conversation they'd had since the night at the gala. Vanessa saw genuine growth in the man who had once betrayed her so completely, growth that had come at a terrible cost to them both. "Thank you for saying that," she said softly. Later that night, after Emma had fallen asleep surrounded by new toys, Vanessa sat with Jonathan on her porch swing. "Thomas still loves you," Jonathan observed without jealousy. "Part of him does," Vanessa agreed, "or loves who we were together. But that doesn't change what happened." Jonathan was quiet for a moment. "You know, after Carolyn died, I thought I'd never find love again. Then I met you and realized that life doesn't give us just one chance at happiness." 3 months later, when Jonathan proposed on a weekend trip to the Oregon coast, Vanessa said yes without hesitation. Emma, who had grown attached to Mr. John, was delighted by the news, especially when Jonathan formally asked for her permission to join their family. Telling Thomas was more difficult. He congratulated her with sincere efforts, but Vanessa saw the pain he couldn't quite hide. "Will John be Emma's dad now?" he asked, his greatest fear evident in his voice. "You will always be Emma's father," Vanessa assured him. "Nothing changes that." The wedding was planned for spring, a small ceremony in the Japanese garden with only close friends and family. As the date approached, Vanessa found herself reflecting on the journey that had led her here. From betrayal to healing, to this unexpected second chance. On the morning of the wedding, as Olivia helped her with her simple but elegant dress, Vanessa received a small package. Inside was a vintage silver compass and a note in Thomas's handwriting. "To help navigate your new journey, I will always regret losing my way with you, but I'm grateful you've found yours. Be happy, Ness, you deserve it. Thomas." The gesture brought unexpected tears. Somewhere along the way, forgiveness had fully replaced anger, not erasing the past, but allowing it to become part of a larger story. The ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. Emma proudly scattered rose petals. Jonathan's son stood as his best man, and Vanessa's father walked her down the aisle. Thomas sat quietly in the back, honoring her happiness with his presence. Later, at the reception, Thomas approached with Emma's hand in his. "Congratulations," he said, offering a genuine smile to both Vanessa and Jonathan. "Emma and I have a dance to do, I believe." As father and daughter twirled away, Jonathan squeezed Vanessa's hand. "Full circle," he said softly. Vanessa nodded, watching Thomas lift Emma in a spin that made her giggle with delight. From the ashes of betrayal, something unexpected had emerged. Not just survival, but a richer life than she could have imagined on that painful night at the gala. The shadows of deception had finally given way to the clear light of truth, allowing everyone to find their way forward. Changed, but ultimately whole.